Welcome to the Simply Luxurious Kitchen. This is our first episode, and I'm excited to start this new part of the Simply Luxurious Life brand because it's about elevating the everyday in the kitchen with the food we make, the drinks we share, and what we enjoy the most with regards to comfort food, but all the while keeping it simple and keeping the quality elevated. So let's do our first recipe today. And I'm inspired for today's recipe by where I find myself. I am in Devon, England at the moment, and as I look out these windows out here, I'm seeing the Bristol Channel, rolling hills with sheep and cattle on them, and it's just a very calm, surreal place to be. And what better thing to do to savor it than to make a good cup of tea or a good pot of tea. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to make a good pot of tea. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have good water in your tea kettle. So what I've done is I have put a fresh pot of water into my tea kettle. And the reason you want fresh water, not just reheated water that's been sitting in the kettle, is that you want the most oxygen possible, because what that oxygen is going to do is going to add the flavor that that tea wants to share with you. So make sure you always have a fresh pot of water to make your cup or pot of tea. Now, let's heat it up. While that's heating up, one thing you also want to do is make sure your teapot is warm. Now, that hot water is hot, but this tea kettle is cold. So you're going to want to make sure that it is warm as possible. So when that hot water comes into your teapot, it stays as warm and as hot for as long as possible. So let's do that. Just kind of swirl it around, warming it up, empty it out, dry it off. And it's all ready for the hot water that you're going to put in to make your hot tea. Now, what you can do with teapots and tea is there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can have a mini teapot, which is what I'm going to make today, and that only requires one tea bag. Or you can make just a regular sized teapot, so for 2 to 4 people. And what you're going to want to do here is, based on how many people you're serving, you're going to want one tea bag per person. Now, if you're using loose tea, which I love to do, and I actually have a pot or a jar of my favorite loose tea in my own kitchen back in Bend, Oregon, you want 1 teaspoon per person plus 1 teaspoon for the pot. So say I'm sitting down with a friend for tea. I'm going to put in 3 teaspoons of tea, because there's 1 for me, 1 for my friend, and 1 for the teapot. So that's a different approach if you're not using tea bags. All right, now we have our 3 teapots. Like I said, I'm going to make a mini teapot for myself. You can also just have a cup of tea. I do that most of the time. When I know I'm just going to have 1 cup of tea, and that would be where you just use 1 tea bag and pour it in, let it seep for the correct amount of time. We'll talk about that in a second. And then you're going to, when you do take out the tea bag, here's something to keep in mind. You want to gently take your spoon, your teaspoon, and squish it against the side, just once, and not hard, because if you do it really hard and really squish it, it can create a bitter taste in the tea. So just a gentle little snuggle, and then take it out and enjoy your tea. All right, so our hot water is hot, so let's make our tea. I'm going to use this teapot, as I said. Okay. And one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up my teacup. Okay. So the same thing with regards to the teapot. Warm water or hot water so the teacup doesn't cool down the hot water once it goes in. Now I'm going to use one of my favorite teas. It's from Paris and I always travel with it. It's from Palais de Thé and it's Monton Bleu, and it has it's black tea with berries and lavender. Here we go. 1 tea bag, mini teapot. Okay, put that back. Now we're just going to let that seep for 4 minutes. Now, a lot of times tea bags will tell you exactly how long to steep them, and this one in fact says 4 to 5 minutes. But to be safe, 4 minutes is about how long you want to steep your teas, unless it says differently. There are a lot of different specialty teas out there that have fewer, so I've seen as little as 3, but usually no more than 5. You want to make sure that it's only for 4 minutes. It's steep, not seep. My mistake. Now, while that's seeping, I want to talk about a recent health study that came out in the Netherlands in 2016, and it recommends that people drink 3 to 5 cups of tea daily. Why? Well, it turns out it reduces diabetes, the risk of stroke, and reduces blood pressure. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I will leave the link to this study on the show notes for this episode so you can take a closer look. But if something I'm already doing is something that I enjoy, has health benefits, I'm gonna keep doing it a little bit more. So some other teas that I really enjoy are green tea. Now, there is this tea house in Paris, Mirage Frères, and they make a green tea that I love, Vert de Provence. And that's one tea that I like to start my day with if I'm not going to go with my black tea that I traditionally go with, is green tea. It also has a lot of health benefits as well. Now, how did I become a drinker of tea? Well, it started in my late 20s when my mom and I went to Victoria, Canada, and had high tea at the Empress Hotel. And it was just the attention to this simple practice of sipping tea that made it special. And it truly, and I hadn't even started the blog yet at this point, but it really epitomized simple luxury because it was a simple practice, sipping tea, and it was made into something special that really brought you to that present moment and slowed you down and made you appreciate the simple flavors, the things you may be nibbling with it, and of course your company. And ever since, I have been a tea drinker, and there's something about knowing you have a hot cup of tea, even in the summer. And I know this sounds crazy, I will have a hot cup of tea in the summer because it's even more so not just the flavor, obviously I want the flavor, but it's the warmth and the comfort that it provides. So that's when I started drinking tea, and it's been a love affair ever since. There's also a great place in London to go to, which I love and have gone and look forward to going to again when I return to London here in a few days, Fortnum and Mason. And they have oodles of varietals of tea as well. In fact, there's the Queen's tea and all sorts of different ones that, based on what you like, you can pick up and enjoy at your own home. And of course, the decorative tins are fun as well. All right, so it's been 4 minutes and our cup is warm. So we're going to pour our cup of tea. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Now, some people like to put creamer or honey or lemon or sugar or milk, and I drink it straight. But one thing you do want to pair with it is something sweet to nibble on, or savory. You could have your tea sandwiches with salmon or cucumber or egg salad sandwich. But I like a truffle. So every night before I go to bed, I pour myself a hot cup of tea and I choose one truffle to enjoy. Now, these 4 truffles came from a local chocolate shop here in Ilfracombe, which is just about 2 miles down the road from my cottage here in the Devon region. But you can also just pick up simple cookies and biscuits that have some chocolate on it in the grocery store. I got those at Tesco, so something very simple and not that expensive. But again, it's about savoring the everyday moments, slowing down. Anyway, if you want more information on how to make your own great cup of tea or pot of tea, visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/kitchen1. And our new series will kick off officially in the fall of 2018, where we will elevate the everyday. Now, if you also have questions about my visit here in Devon and my travels over here in England, and of course, more information about this beautiful country cottage that I had the opportunity to stay in, that's all on the show notes as well.